Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Reasonably Effective podcast. I'm your host, 10 Types, joined by Uncommon Fossil. And today we're going to wait, what episode is it? It's 36.
36. Yep.
Let's go. I'm a professional.
Always
Um,
prepared.
and then today we actually are recording this a little bit early. So we were recording this before the release of 151.
Yes.
Well, isn't it crazy what happened? The live glitched again when it was released.
No,
Whoa.
you mean wasn't it amazing that 151 released without an issue on
Oh, yeah.
live?
Yeah, that's
And the
crazy. That's
update they
crazy.
did fixed everything.
Yeah, like you can play GLC in live. This is crazy. Yeah, no.
All
So,
right. No,
if
I'm
anything
pretty sure you
crazy,
can't do that. So let's not
yeah, that's like
people
if
upset
let's hope
people
so.
too much. No.
But yeah, if anything interesting happened, we can talk about that in the comments.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll see. But 151 is cool. We might talk about that some during this video. We've talked about it before individually, or I've talked about it on my channel by myself, and we've talked about it together some. But
Yep.
what we want to talk about is newer cars in that, or like cards that are coming out later in our set called Paradox Rift, which is a combination of a few different sets. But the main one obviously introduces Paradox Pokemon,
Right.
and the first trainers revealed. And you said these looks like A specs, right?
Yeah, visually it's similar, and I thought isn't something like Apex coming out in the future or no?
Yeah, A specs are getting put into, I believe, the set as well.
Okay.
Um, these don't actually look like A specs. A specs are
Yeah,
gray.
what was there?
I
There
mean,
was this
kind of
Life
looks.
Do or something had a similar graphic to some of
Yeah,
these
Life
ones. The
do
image, the
kind
art,
of.
but anyway,
So yeah, I'll read the cards here. So there's future Pokemon and ancient Pokemon. Also, they look cool. Speaking of how they look, on the right side, like it's a normal card, but then on like the right, somewhere between like a third and half, it fades out. But there's some
hmm
either future, it's some like tech thing, and past, it's like the Grand Canyon inside, right? Is that how you describe
oh,
it?
the H, yeah, maybe, yeah, stratification, yeah, could be something like that.
Yeah.
Stratified colored layers.
Okay, yeah. And then yeah, it's cool. It looks cool on some of them. The more contrast, the cooler it looks, I'd say. But anyway,
Yeah,
so future booster energy capsule, and ancient booster energy capsule. A bit
yeah,
wordy, I believe. In the video game, they were not as wordy. But they ended in energy, which is very confusing. If you got a tool card that's future booster energy, that's going to be confusing. So they stuck capsule on the end.
yeah.
They're both tool cards. Wait a second. Yeah, they are tool cards. It is actually believe mistranslated here on Pokebeach, right?
Oh, it says,
It said it's an
oh,
item,
it says item,
but
but right, they aren't. Their
it's,
tools are not items. Yes.
yeah. Yeah, Pokemon Beach, please fix your thing. It might be fixed by then. Anyways, who knows? It's a tool. They can obviously only be attached to, well, they can be attached to anything, but the future one here says the future Pokemon this card is attached to has free retreat, no retreat
Yep.
cost, and then it does 20 more damage to your opponent's active. This is before weakness and resistance. And the
Hmm.
ancient one here says the ancient Pokemon gets 16 more HP and cannot be affected by special conditions and recovers from them. So, what are your initial thoughts on these?
Well, thinking about the future one first, that one's very strong because right, no free retreat, right? The float stone and expand is a very powerful card, right? You really love to play that. Retreat cost is 0, so therefore even anything that boosts retreat cost doesn't impact it. It's always 0. So just like float stone in and of itself is a good card, and now it boosts by 20. Um, and obviously you can, so that in 20 is not a bad number to boost. There's things that boost 10 in general, which is always underwhelming, and then things that boost 30 to specific. But so for future, honestly, boosting 20 across the board and free retreat, I really like it. I think it's a very strong tool, assuming you have good future Pokemon to pair it with, of course.
Yeah, and I will say I agree with that very much. And the one thing that's kind of weird is that these two effects, the free retreat and extra damage, don't really go together. Free
No.
retreat is generally going to be on like support based Pokemon that like draws cards and sits on the bench and
hmm
can be used as a pivot. And then the extra damage is used on an attacker.
Yeah.
Ugh, sorry. And then, but we'll look. I believe the future Pokemon have effects when they like switch in and out.
Okay.
And that's kind of a little mini aspect of that, and so that's has some synergy there.
I mean, because if you just had this and it wasn't restricted to future and it only gave free retreat, it would see it play in a lot of decks now,
So
right?
like just Floatstone.
Yeah, just if it was Floatstone,
Yeah,
because even
I mean
Air
Floatstone's
Balloon
very good.
was played a lot, and that was not as good as Floatstone, right?
Yeah, that's
So
retreat -2.
right. So it would just get played if it was just that half of it. And again, if you had a card that was for any Pokemon did 20 more damage, that would get played in a lot of decks too. At
Yeah,
least a
which was Muscle
consideration.
Band, which was a very good card.
Yeah, so it's those two things combined. I potentially, if future card Pokemon are good, I really like this tool a lot. Um, Now the second one, I got to think a little more. That one's not as straightforward. It gets 60 plus HP, and that's very good, right? Because we get 50 from Bravery Charm. Am I translating it correctly?
Yeah,
If I
Bravery
get the
Charm's
name.
50.
So this is
Oh
10 more
yeah.
than that. So that's very nice. 60. And obviously Bravery Charm is only to basic Pokemon. So this is
Yeah, these are all
evolutions as
basics.
well.
I'll say I believe all ancient Pokemon, at least the Paradox Pokemon, which
Okay.
are supposed to be like the ancient Pokemon, are all they appear to be basics, um,
Okay.
which is something to note. But they theoretically could obviously print evolutions, which I hope they do, but I don't. Um,
Okay.
the Paradox Pokemon would all be basic.
Okay. And are the futures all basic too, or not?
Yeah. The Paradox are both ancient
Okay,
and
so
future.
all okay. Future and ancient are the paradoxes, kind of like battle styles is rapid strike and single strike, and then they added the third fusion strike later on.
Yeah. Mhm.
So for now, there's two types of paradox: ancient and future, right?
Yep.
Okay, so 60 HP. That's strong. I like tanky card decks, so that helps with that. In 60s, like I said, better than 50, which we get now. But from 50 to 60s, a marginal increase, right? It's not as strong as free retreat, I got to say for the other one. And then
Yeah.
immunity to special conditions is good. Special conditions aren't huge in the game, and I don't know if they're gonna if with new cards it's gonna get bigger. So it's useful, but it's not. It's not as good as doing 20 more damage, say, compared as the future one did. So I think this one seems less good than the future version.
Yeah, I think 6 HP actually is pretty good.
Yeah.
Still, I mean, but like I'm looking at the HP, they're like the normal HPs. This one has 230, boosting it up to 290. We were talking about Entei
Right.
in a previous podcast, which goes up to 280. This will go up to
hmm
290. Um, but that's a weird card, anyways. But yeah, I think it's pretty. I think the future one's like insane. And the ancient
Yeah.
one's pretty solid.
The ancient one's good. I do think it is good. And if you have things that are around like 220, 230, if you get 230, 290, because then you're at a level that people are hitting to 280 targeting, or people either going to have to target 290 and then have to give up on decks, or you're probably going to be 10 out of range from a lot of things, which will be quite nice.
Yeah. Of course, there's always going to be tool removal as well, but
Yes.
that's fine. Uh, and then I'll read the next card. Or do you want to read the next card here?
Yeah, so this is
Last.
Professor Sada's Determination. So a supporter. It's an ancient supporter, so I suppose there's things that will allow you to search some of these cards out. I don't know, or interactions with other ancient things. Choose up to two of your ancient Pokemon and attach one basic energy from your discard pile to each of them, then draw three cards. So, all right, accelerating two energy, drawing three. Melanie, which obviously accelerates just to V Pokemon, similar to that. This is just an ancient type, so a different restriction, but now it's two basic energies, one to one to a Pokemon, one to another, right? So Melanie's quite good. So this is potentially very, very good, is what I'd say.
Yeah, and it can be any type of energy as well, or any type of basic
Any
energy.
basic. So, or it can be different types of basic, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
It appears so. So that's so energy acceleration's good. Now you can't put both of them on the same Pokemon, but you're set. So, but that's quite. I like that. Very, very strong supporter, I'd say.
Yeah. I think it's very similar to Melanie. So that's pretty much my thought. And then we'll look at the
Yeah.
specific Pokemon as well.
I mean, it's Melanie,
Next,
but a little better, right?
yeah.
Okay.
But it's to a smaller. Well, it might actually be a similar amount of Pokemon as well, because Melanie. Well, actually, Melanie can be to any V. So,
Right.
and it would definitely stop playing non-water Vs.
Yes.
Anyway, so next up we got Earth Vessel. I think you're gonna like this card a lot, and I
Okay.
think this prompts some really interesting discussion. It's an item. It's an ancient
hmm
card.
Yep.
But it has its effect here. It says you may discard it. You must discard a card from your hand in order to use this card.
Okay.
Search your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck.
Okay, that's good. I mean, right now we can search for one energy basically.
Yep. And then
Searching
there's Letter of Encouragement, which searches 3 if you were KO'd last turn.
right. But you're having to be a KO'd, so which obviously you're going to get knocked out at times. But but now it doesn't have to be restricted to that one turn. So you don't timing wise, you don't have to draw this card the 1 or 2 turns you can use it. So that's a big plus. So I like it. It's 2 basics, I guess. Again, of any type you want. Discarding is, there's certainly things you like to discard too in the course of the game. Or as you go on, you want to thin things down. So discarding 1's not bad. Discarding 2 sometimes is awkward, right? With Ultra Ball, there's times you don't like to, but discarding 1, like with Quick Ball, you almost always are fine doing that. So I do like it. The question is, you get them into hand. What do you do with them, right? Is there a benefit with the ancient Pokemon to having extra energy in hand? That I'm not sure about.
Yeah. So I think you didn't. Okay, I have a question now for you.
Okay.
And I need to talk about this. If you're listening, you're kind of confused at a bit of a weird dynamic. I have looked at these 10 times. I am 10 types. I've looked at these on the 10 type channel, but Uncommon Fossil has not looked at these
Right.
at all. There are some that have already been revealed, which we've looked at some, but I've looked at them more as well. I don't know if you remember them, but anyways, so I'm going to be asked a question here. What
Okay.
cards are there in standard right now that let you like discard cards from your hand?
Which you have Ultra Ball.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
And
Discards
that's the
2.
main one, obviously. And we're
Yep.
talking with decks getting that need discards. There's very limited options, so that's true. You might just want to play this in other decks to discard. In terms
Yeah,
of
this will
items,
be.
you have Grant, and I played Grant in decks that need to
Oh, yeah, that's
discard.
not an item, but yeah.
It's not, but it doesn't use your supporter for turn either, right? It
But
allows
also, yeah.
it
But it
allows you
needs
to
to be discarded
discard.
already as well.
No,
It's okay. I've played it.
but part of my point is with Grant is there's not many discard options, right? So which
Yeah.
I guess you're getting at. Because
Yeah,
I
this
played.
is
Go ahead.
you say your thing.
I mean, I played Grant to discard cards where I just want to discard, and the reason that just shows you that there's just not discard cards in the game right now.
Yeah. If you don't know Grants, it doesn't matter exactly what it does, but it's like weird and it's kind of awkward. So Earth Vessel
Yes.
is, if I'm not mistaken, unless there's hunting something weird, something good in the upcoming set, it's the only item that just lets you discard a card from your hand. A single card from your hand.
Oh, because Ultra
which
Ball
is
does
fair.
2. Grant does
Yeah,
2
Ultra Ball is
also.
2. Yeah.
And again, it's a little more awkward.
Yeah, there's like Squawkabilly, there's Galarian Articuno V, but obviously those are different.
I mean, you have
this is
Curlia,
good.
right, which is a Pokemon
Yeah.
with its ability.
Yeah.
But that's
But
not
this is
an
just
item.
an item. Anytime you can just be like, okay, I need to discard this discards.
Yes.
In say like United Wings, you probably wouldn't play this in United Wings. Actually, no, you'd probably play if you're playing Dark, which a lot of lists do. Yeah, you probably play this in United Wings.
Yeah, you might. I mean, yeah, that's true. It's going to have obviously good for ancient decks, I assume, but then it's a good card for a lot of decks. So any card deck that wants discard, I don't know. Are Mew decks going to play it now because they just, you discard a card?
Yeah, I don't know about
I'm not
that.
sure. Although
It doesn't like
Mew
do
decks at
anything,
times
but
seem to play
maybe.
cards just to get rid of thin at times, but Mew doesn't really need the cards in the discard thin's hands, but there's decks that want things in the discard pile. So yeah,
I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And I feel like the game had a bit of a lack of discard. I think it would have been better if we had like some other way of discarding, because I think one encourages skill. You need to decide what you can and can't discard. I noticed when I made it a control deck, and as I progressed with the deck, I added more and more Ultra Balls because I got more confident at knowing what to discard and what to keep. And I think it's just good.
Yeah, no, I like. Yeah, it's an interesting card. Now, as far as you know, is this kind of similar to the battle styles, the Paradox Pokemon, where we're going to see a lot at first and maybe a few later on?
Yeah, so this is essentially the same thing. Interestingly, this is coming at the last set of the year. Battle Styles came at the first set of the year,
Yeah.
and essentially came throughout the whole year.
Yep.
And after that, for the most part, stopped. We saw a few cards sprinkled in later, but
Hmm.
um, not too many. So yeah, so this is, I don't really know what the plan is here, but I assume that we're gonna get um I'd say we're gonna get some more than this. It might be like where we get, because Fusion Strike is like a thing that wasn't, as far as I know, in the video game. We might just get some like other
Okay.
thing thrown in some point later in like a
Hmm.
year. Um, but I think it's gonna be it's very similar to Battle Styles, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm connecting it to in my brain, right or wrong. Okay. All right. We want to get to the next card here, which is
Yeah, yeah.
so I'll read this one. Professor Turo's Scenario, which is a supporter. It's a future one. You put one of your Pokemon into your hand. Discard all cards attached to that Pokemon. So this is a Pokemon in play then. I was wondering where the Pokemon came from, right? Because
Yeah, this is a bit yeah.
so I assume that the translation will sort that out, right? Because I was like, is it from the discard? Is it from the deck?
Just like search any, I just like
Right. I look at my
get a
prizes. I
random
just,
Pokemon from
oh
my
wait,
opponent's
I'd
deck.
get it from my
Like,
binder that I got sitting next to me. What do I do here, right? Or this
yeah.
is the sideboard like they have in Magic. They're bringing it to. Okay, so I assume so it's from play, right? Because otherwise it wouldn't you wouldn't
Yeah.
nothing's
Mhm.
attached to it. So it is. It's a well, it's not scuba, but it's a supporter.
This is
Um,
like if you played AZ, I believe this is the same thing as AZ.
I mean, we have
Uh,
penny for right. This penny
basics.
goes to your hand, right?
Yeah,
Or-
penny, and you keep the stuff, and it's just basic. I think this is very similar to penny. It just allows you
yeah.
to um, it like if it depends on the deck. This is kind of like you played Sharon's Care, right? You played that quite a
Yes.
lot.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Sharon's care, which heals up.
And then you obviously keep
Yeah.
the stuff attached, but I think you could use this in a similar way as like a more versatile card.
Mhm.
Also, this does allow you to like switch out anything. In my control deck, I think I'll probably put this in instead of Penny. I haven't decided yet, honestly. But it allows me to get my Curlius out of the active, which I always have to get stuck in the active because um, yeah. So I think this is
Right.
an interesting card. It's a very simple card, and it's not really, as I said, there was a loose idea of switching with this, like the future Pokemon.
Okay, so it
I
helps you do a
think,
little switch.
um,
You discard the card, so assuming you're getting your active card that you attacked with, then you're losing your energy or in tools that you may have. So that's a downside. I guess it will do any Pokemon, not just a future Pokemon. I hope that's not a
yeah,
typo that's missing. Okay, so yeah, I mean it's obviously for it's another option for a lot of decks, and may pair well with the future decks. I mean it's your supporter for turn, so it's going to be situational, obviously, with what decks will want it and when you want to use it.
yeah. I don't think this card is particularly amazing. I think you'll see it play at some points. It's kind of like it's a supporter that you don't expect to see too often, but it'll see some play sometimes. Um, it's probably one of those like tech cards that a lot of time will get cut,
Right.
but sometimes will be good.
Right, because with Penny, that's probably generally better for basics, and I'm usually right now it's the basics you want to get out of play. I'm thinking like you have your Rotom V to draw cards or something, boom, get it out. So this gets evolution. So I'm not sure where the uses are exactly, but
Yeah, it
it's
could
there.
function kind of like Cheryl because Cheryl will rotate as well.
Hmm.
It's not as good, I wouldn't say, but oh,
Right.
something like Umbreon VMAX, which has an on play ability.
Mm. Yeah.
Its on play ability is just Boss, so you might rather just play Boss. But yeah, I think
Right.
Charizard. You could do if you're playing a Charizard deck where Charizard EX is the energy accelerator. You can
Hmm.
scoop up Charizard. These ideas don't sound great. Um,
Right. You can Pidgeot EX, scoop it up, toss rare candy another one down with the rare candy
but
you
you
got
can't
from
use
your.
it. You can't use Pidgeot
Well, you already
EX
have the
again.
basic in play, right? And then you're, but that's too many pieces to happen.
Well,
So,
you can't use multiple Pidgeot EXs per
oh,
turn.
that's okay. It's one of those
So
type
yeah, that
rules.
doesn't
Okay, so it doesn't
work
work.
anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
So, yeah, it'll have some use. I don't think this is as powerful as some of the things.
yeah. So I'll read the next card here. Techno Radar. Also, I want to say that some of these Professor Saz's determination and then Techno Raider are connected to their the paradox, the ancient and future. And then Earth Vessel and Professor Turo's scenario seem to pretty much not be connected to the ballast, the paradox thing.
Paradox.
Kind of like how Echoing Horn isn't necessarily a rapid strike card, but has some synergy, which I think is
Mhm.
cool because these aren't only affecting those types of decks.
Right. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Right.
But
Go ahead.
Techno Raider here, though, item card for future. You must discard a card from your hand in order to use this. Oh, this also discards. Okay, that's cool. This is more niche, but and so this is a parallel between those two. Search your deck for up to 2 future Pokemon cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. So these are Pokemon. It's a bit weird. It's like Pokemon cards, but yeah, future Pokemon.
Okay, which at this point are only basics.
Yeah.
Right. If there were evolutions, it could search for basics. I mean, evolutions as well. But so it searches for 2 basic Pokemon. I'm in a future, so to what extent is it actually useful? I mean, it lets you
Yeah.
discard if you really need another discard card, but you probably don't need this in general. It's okay. I mean,
I
yeah,
think you probably play this in most future decks. It'll be good in those, I think, but because instead, like, would you rather play this card or your favorite card, Battle VIP Pass? How about that?
well, yeah, certainly this has been the
I
Battle
mean, this is like
VIP
directly
pass
better,
because, I mean, you have to
essentially.
discard, but usually that's okay. But obviously, that's Battle VIP pass is only turn 1. This is any turn in the game. It's like quick balling for 2 Pokemon, right?
Yeah,
Which is quite nice. Yeah. So
I think
no,
yeah. I feel like you'd probably put this maybe as a 4 of in every future deck. But that's probably about it.
right. I mean, yeah, I don't think you're putting it in non-future decks probably, unless you're really discard hungry and just need every discard item you can get, which isn't general. And you
Yeah,
do
that
have Nest
seems
Ball
highly
for,
unlikely.
yeah. And as long as future decks don't mind discarding, obviously if discarding is a problem, they might go with 4 Nest Ball instead. And if do they need a lot of Pokemon in play? If you only need a few Pokemon in play and don't want to discard, Nest Ball might be fine too. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good card, is what I'd say. How good, I'm not sure.
Yeah. And then let's see. We got ourselves a few supporters here.
Yep.
So how about you read this one again as well?
All right, so Mela, if I'm pronouncing it right, I'm not sure. You can play this card only if any of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Obviously, we have other cards like that. Attach 1 basic fire energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. If you do, then draw until you have 6 cards in hand. Okay, so the comparison here is to Raihan. It seems like to me, which you can only play if you're knocked out. You accelerate any type of any energy from the discard pile. Here it's only fire, so that's part's not as good. And you have to have the energy in discard, just like with Raihan. If Raihan you don't have basic energy in discard, you can't use it. Here you have to have a basic fire in discard, or you can't use it. And then you draw until you have 6 cards. Raihan, you search for 1 card. So, probably I'd rather play Raihan most of the time. I gotta say,
Yeah.
because searching. I mean, yeah, you get if you got Iono'd down, but if you got Iono, then you got to be lucky to have this card probably. So I think accelerate 1 of any energy and search for any 1 card is better than drawing to 6 cards and only accelerating fire.
Yeah, I think this is keep in mind it can accelerate to any type, but like still. So can Raihan. I think this card's pretty bad. I think it's not like in a fire based deck you could play 1 of this. You can maybe even play 2 of it. And you like fire, so
yeah, I do like fire, but again, I think I'm putting Raihan in the deck before this probably. So in which case,
yeah, I think because Entei, like you played like Entei Barbarrel, and that was you just want to draw stuff. So just seeing general cards could be good for that. But Raihan is also pretty good.
Right. I mean, obviously, if you have the barrel in play, you're drawing to 5 with that, so you get 1 extra card. That the advantage of the extra card is not as good as searching for any 1 card if you're playing the barrel.
It's definitely less.
I mean, so you wouldn't have the barrel engine with this because it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I could see if you're playing Pidgeot, say Pidgeot Entei,
Yeah.
you'd play like 1 Raihan, 1 melee, I think.
Yeah, because the Pidgeot gets you that one card just like a Raihan does also, because you can play this, draw some cards. You didn't hit the card you need. I grab it with Pidgeot. So,
Or if you have a low hand and you need the energy, you could just grab this off of Pidgeot instead of
right.
Raihaning. And if you just have like essentially no hand,
Yes.
Raihan, the one card won't be quite enough to get you out of there.
The other thing which I'll have to think about, and I don't know, is these things cards that only work after you've been knocked out are best in single prize decks because there you can afford getting knocked out a bunch of times. So you have a lot of opportunities to do it, right? Like playing your favorite deck, Rapid Strike Malamar, and then you could Bruno like every turn and play a lot of Brunos, right? You love doing that.
Yeah,
So
I love doing that. Wait, don't they play Cynthia's Ambition instead?
yeah, they do. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's what they switch to later on. Correct. So, but prize decks can use these better. Is there a fire single prize deck that I'm not sure.
Yeah,
There
I'm
isn't.
trying to
There
think.
isn't
There's
now.
Cast Form.
Guess you got to get those energies accelerated there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you could
I
set.
don't know if there's anything.
No, I mean, I guess if you're playing Radiant Charizard in some deck, you can set it up late with. I don't know. So,
Yeah.
yeah, this one's sketchier.
Uh-huh. And then the last one here is okay. So this is Tulip.
Yep.
It's a supporter. Keep in mind these last two aren't ancient or future.
Yep.
And then so put any combination of Psychic Pokemon and basic Psychic Energy from your discard into your hand. This is just Nessa for Psychic as well.
Um, yeah, Nessa didn't really get used, of course.
I mean, it saw some play. I think it
Some
definitely.
and
I think
Psychic,
it saw more play than you thought. I think
I
it
guess
because there are a
so.
lot of good water decks. Um, I don't know what it saw play, but I know it saw. I might have seen some play in Palkia, like is it one of sometimes.
Right. The question is, but here's what I compare it to: is it how often is it better than Clara, right? Which isn't just Psychic, right? Clara, which is two Pokemon and two energy, right? Two basic energy. So, which gets to a total of four, but this can be four Pokemon or four energy or three in one. Also, it's a little more flexible, but it's not that different than Clara, right? Whereas Clara works for anything. So this is only Psychic decks.
Yeah, keep in mind Clara will be rotating soon as well, but
Yeah, I mean,
it's only fair to compare them.
obviously Gardevoir is the big Psychic deck right now. That doesn't need the energies going back into hand. Obviously, you get four Psychic Pokemon. Um, you know,
And there are times when you like run out of energy near the game end of the game too.
mhm.
So I don't think I think it's like I kind of like this card in Gardevoir.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else and
I mean, Mew's
can't
the
think.
other big Psychic deck, right? But I
Or
don't.
Lost Zone
Lost
as well.
Zone, yeah, Lost Zone. Obviously, getting the Sableye in some energies is good.
Yeah,
Um,
don't think you do this though, and there still. We can grab Comfy. I think the
and
main benefit
Comfies
is you can
too.
grab um, like you can grab extra like Pokemon, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Like oftentimes you Clara for something else. Um,
right.
so like oftentimes Clara in Lost Zone is specifically for Radiant Charizard. So obviously this doesn't work for that. I think this card's um, once Clara rotates, it might see some niche play.
So, right. I mean, these two supporters that aren't linked to the paradox uh, type style, whatever it is, are not as good as the others. I would say.
Yeah, they're a bit. Yeah, they might just be some like filler cards. Um,
Yeah, and
and
they're
they're
both
okay.
type
Yeah, I mean they're
specific.
not great, but
So
they're yeah.
yeah. Okay.
And then let's see. If you're looking at the Pokemon Strategy Gold, the cards down below are the ones that were revealed at Worlds, which you took a look at. But let's look
Mhm.
at the Pokemon first.
The new ones, right? Is what you're saying?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Which means I scroll up if you're watching, and just telling myself so I know how to find it.
Yep. Here, how about you read Iron Hands? Yeah, just try read it.
No, I got it. Yeah, Iron Hands EX. So this is a basic Pokemon, I do believe, right?
Yep.
Yes, so lightning type 230 HP, which is that nice number above 220. It is a future type, so we'll see how the futures all work. So arm press for lightning colors, 160 damage, 160 for three is underwhelming, right? I mean, it's just a
Yeah, it's not pure trash, but it's not like it's not what you're looking for. Like you compare it to like Miraidon, you compare
Right.
it to Raikou, and you compare it to the other Miraidon, and it's probably worse than all those.
Yeah, I mean, right. Miraidon does more damage. It can't attack the next turn, but you can deal with that. And this other retreat cost is 4, by the way.
Yeah,
So
it's a big
so
boy.
that's. But was this the one that had the tool that made it free retreat? I'm trying to remember.
It does, yes, it does.
And it does
And 20 more.
20
So you'll be hitting
more.
180 for 3, which isn't look, that's
180's
not like
not bad.
awful.
No, but you're two-shotting multi-prizers pretty much.
I was trying to think of examples of Pokemon that have like two prizers that have like less, and the only ones I thought of off the top of my head were Lumineon and Squawkabilly, which you hit both for weakness. So that's not the most important thing.
Yeah, okay, but that has the second attack here. So let's see, does this make it better? So 4 attack costs. So lightning, colorless, colorless, colorless. Obviously, we do have electric generator or Flaffy to accelerate to it as light since it's lightning type. If your opponent's active Pokemon, so it does 120 damage. So 120 for 4. I'm not excited there, but let's see. There's more text. If your opponent's active Pokemon is knocked out by damage from this attack, take 1 additional prize. All right, additional prize is good. Well, it's 120 for 4 though. It's like a tech in a lightning deck is what I'd see it as. Maybe
I think it's a good tech in Miraidon.
I'm playing Miraidon and I'm playing 1 copy, and I hope I don't have to start it because if I do, I'm really unhappy.
Yeah, I think it's very good in that though, because it gives you a very good like Lost Zone matchup. It might help Gardevoir matchup. I don't actually know if that. I don't know the math super well in that matchup, like how much damage they put on themselves and stuff like that.
Right.
But obviously, if you care like a Curly, it's fine.
And
That's
even
pretty good.
the Gallade probably you're going to take out, right? Is that 160?
Well, yeah.
The stage 2, right? And they have to put damage counters on themselves usually.
Or the Gardevoir, the one they attack with.
Yeah, or is that the Gardevoir?
Gardevoir,
The
yeah,
single
Gardevoir
prize.
is the one they attack
Okay.
with, which does actually 140. So, if they have any damage on them, you'll be carrying them.
Yep.
Or if you have the tool, you will be carrying them at full health.
Yeah. So yeah, it's probably a one of in a lightning deck. Making a deck out of this, that's probably that's where it is, and it will boost those decks as you said. So
Yeah, I think it's a very strong tech in that deck. Because like it's a deck based on multi-prizers, and you don't have any great like you're single. If you're against single prizes, your prize trade becomes a little awkward sometimes. But I think this will like secure because Lost Zone's very good. There is a card coming out that's like a Lost Zone counter. I don't honestly remember if we've talked about it. I think we have on the podcast, but it's like
right.
that will reduce it some. But I think this will like you'll still see Lost Zone. If you just need to like win the matchup, this should get you there.
The thing I don't like, even if you whatever type of energy acceleration, Flaffy or electric generator, you're probably going to take 2 turns to power it up to get 4 energy on, right?
Yeah, I think it might be sitting there for a little. For
Yeah,
like a turn.
so it's sitting there on a turn, which means you're not accelerating to another attacker, and it's a target to get gusted up. So I don't love it for those reasons. Usually attacker like this, I'd like to be able to get it in play and attack with it in 1 turn. I'm probably not doing that with this. So we'll see how strong it is.
Yeah. Also, it is mostly colorless. So you could put this in some other style deck. I was thinking a little like if you put this in like Lost Zone, you can put the tool on, and you're hitting 180, which is pretty solid in Lost Zone. It's the same amount as Snorlax, but if you have these 2 attacks, I think it's an okay consideration. But yeah, I think it's whatever.
Yeah, it's a tech card for some lightning decks mostly. Lost Zone probably isn't going this route, I wouldn't think, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. Next up, we got Slitherwing, an ancient Pokemon, which means you have that like energy acceleration tool. But quite frankly, I'll just say this card's bad. Its first attack is Mill 1 for 1 fighting, which isn't particularly good. Now, keep in mind, you could be a little bit tanky. You can get up to 200 HP. So you could try to penny loop if your opponent can't hit very hard, which is an interesting concept.
Yeah.
And then like stall, but then.
And I like mill decks, but that's just not a good mill attack. So.
Yeah. And then you also have Billowing Burn, 120 for 2 fighting. It does 90 to itself, and it does burn, that's a substantial chunk of damage to itself. This is kind of like those Pokemon that like do not that much damage themselves, and then paralyze. Except now it's burn.
which
It
is a
burns
lot
pretty bad.
worse.
Yeah.
And you can't, and if you attack, and if you manage not to get knocked out, you knock yourself out the next turn.
Mhm. Yeah, if you attach
So
the tool though, you can attack twice and not knock yourself out.
yeah, this one is not good. I think I have to say. Although I will,
Yeah, this is
yeah, I do. I visually I like the ancients more than the future. I gotta say,
okay. I
personally.
think I like the future more than the. I
Okay.
guess it's the generational gap, right? Boomer versus Zoomer added. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean sometimes the future, because they're trying to make it futuristic, so they made it slick looking. I don't like the slick look as much, but
I guess. What do you mean?
I don't.
But
Well,
is it that not just because the one's in EX and like the
maybe
one's not in EX?
maybe it
Like
is.
okay, let's scroll down to
Let's
the
keep
next one.
going. Anyway,
Um,
we don't like Slitherwing, right? Is
yeah.
okay.
Now Sandy Shocks. Let's look at. You read this one as well. Or should I
Okay.
read it?
No,
Yeah.
I'll read it. So it's a basic ancient Pokemon. Its fighting type is 220 HP, and it's weak to grass. So that's the weakness you want to be when you're fighting type. So let's see. It's got an ability, Magnetic Attraction. This ability can be used once during your turn if your opponent has 4 or fewer prize cards remaining. Attach a basic fighting energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. So that's good. And it's 4 or fewer. So they don't have to have taken 2 prize cards. So you
Yeah, that's
still have
active most of the game.
exactly right. Right. That when you it's 3 or less for like Roxanne, that third one makes a big difference too. Most of the time your multi-prize decks boom by turn 2. You've got turn 2 your opponent's taking out a 2 prizer probably, and you can start using that. So that's good. And Moltres that Galarian Moltres accelerates to itself always very good. So let's see
Well,
what you
it's not good now, I wouldn't say, but
well
it was good for a little while. It's
it's
okay now.
yeah. Hey, it was the big star on my Toxicity EX deck, but that's not saying much,
Yeah.
is it?
Well, it's
Um,
because Toxtricity's bad, and Moltres is better than that.
yes, I think it's by comparison. All right, but let's see what. So we're setting up. What are we setting up here? So for fighting colorless, Ground Spark does 200 damage and can't attack your next turn. Wow. Okay, that's just not good.
It's not
Because
trash, but it's
yeah,
not.
why don't I want
It's
to play
very mediocre.
Miraidon that has the
Well, because
same HP?
it
It does
powers
more
itself up.
damage, and it
But
for the same energy, and it's got more I can accelerate to that better ways. I'm just saying, right?
yeah,
200 damage, and I can't start accelerating until they've given up 2 prizes. So it should be you shouldn't have to wait till your opponent takes any prizes for this because the payoff isn't good enough. That's my thought. You can tell me
yeah,
why I'm
it's not
wrong.
a good attack. So I think there's 2 uses. Actually, they're kind of like the same use, but
Okay.
in Ting Lu,
Yes.
one you have your slower deck, more turns, and you
Mm-hmm.
have an issue of getting energy onto Pokemon. So
Yeah.
this will be a very self-sufficient Pokemon. It's not like an amazing
Yeah.
Pokemon, but once your first Ting-Lu goes down, you can just swing in with this once. It doesn't feel great as it will be breaking the lock, but
Yeah.
it will attack. Oftentimes, you just need to spend a lot of turns, maybe some turns passing, and your opponent like takes his prize, and it causes some issues. Actually, wait, that doesn't work because they need to have taken the prizes. But I don't know. Like some point, or say the last attack. It could be good, but more
Oh.
importantly, I think it could be nice as you can Thornton this into something else.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Um,
Thor, but a fighting deck. It has to be a fighting deck still because
yeah.
it's fighting energy in Thornton, and we know
So I think
Thornton
that's
decks just thrive all over the place, right? They,
yeah.
they,
I
they
like Thornton. I don't play
you
Thornton that
do
much because it's kind of sketchy.
right. It's hard to
But
pull off, but yeah, Thornton is probably the way where it fits in. You can only do it once per turn, right? You can't have use multiple ones.
uh, of this, yeah, I think you
Oh, can you?
can.
'Cause that actually makes it more viable. Can be used. No, can be used once during your turn. Does that mean the ability on this Pokemon or the
No,
that?
it would say the translation might not be correct, but it
Yeah.
would say magnetic attraction can only be used once, which is the name of the ability. It
Okay.
would say the specific name.
So if this translation's correct, which sometimes they're not precise, if it just says this ability,
It
it would mean
probably is. It probably is
it means
correct.
the ability. Yeah, the attacks, the names aren't always correct because that's a stylistic thing of how you do it, but they're accurate in terms of what they do. So when it says this ability, it means the ability on this particular Pokemon, right?
Yeah. Uh,
All right. So it's what you need it for then, and I don't think it
oh, I
is.
thought of another use as well.
You need a
But
deck that's like the Drapey, was it Darkrai V Star, which is a dark one, but based on energies in play, the damage. So if you had a fighting one that's based on your something with energies in play that's fighting based, it could fit in that deck, right? That's another thing. You get like three of them on your bench and start building up once you get knocked out.
Yeah, and I got just the deck for that.
Okay,
It's Hisuian Arcanine V. Do you know this card? You might know when I start talking about it, but
go on. I'm not sure.
okay. Okay, it has its ability irresistible for. Okay, I'll just say the attack first. It's 4 colorless. It does 90 and 30 more for each fighting energy attached to this Pokemon. So
Okay.
an energy vamp style attack.
Mhm.
But then its ability just lets you move fighting energy from anywhere onto it. So you accelerate the energies to the whatever it's called, these Sandy Shocks,
Mhm.
and then you move them all onto a Hisuian Arcanine V, and then you just hit a lot of damage, hopefully.
And
And we've already
how's the ability get triggered? To
anytime,
moving it,
whenever.
whenever you want. It doesn't have to move to the active. It's
Yeah.
not like Weirdy or V. Okay.
Although you could pair this with the Weirder as well. I probably wouldn't do that. Hisuian Arcanine is very simple.
Okay, right.
So
So you can your active gets knocked out, you promote it to the active, and it sucks the energy onto it if it wants to.
yep. So I think that could be an okay use. I think that's a solid use. I don't think Hisuian Arcanine is the best Pokemon.
Yeah.
That's okay. One thing I guess we should talk about with Sandy Shocks too is
Yeah.
that you can bulk it up to higher. You can bulk it up 60 to put up to 280. Of course, normally if it was a basic, you would bulk
Right.
it to do 70. But that's like it's something worth noting.
Right. It does 50, and then it's immune to special conditions, right? Is that what we said?
It's 60 and immune to special conditions.
Okay. Yeah, 60 and no special so okay. Yeah. I mean, I wish it had doing 20 more damage, I gotta say, right? That's just such a better second. That's
Yeah,
a much better
that'd
thing.
probably be good here. But
Yeah, that's what it
I think
wants, but then it gets
I
that
mean, well,
220
if it
number.
does 20 more, it's still doing the same thing as the other one. So,
Yes.
so it's not
So
actually that good. I think Sandy Shocks is not. I mean, its ability is good. Its attack's kind of useless. It's not useless, but it's
yeah,
outclassed. I think the ability is interesting though.
it needs the right thing to pair with, and I don't know that it's in the game right now, though.
Yeah, it's a Pokemon to keep in mind though.
Yeah.
Next we got Iron Jugulus, which fun fact for those of you who don't know, this is mostly just 2 uncommon fossil, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure I
But
don't know.
so obviously a lot of these are words, like Iron Hands is iron and hands.
Yeah.
But Iron Jugulus, Jugulus, as far as I know, is not like a word, so they just like
Okay.
made something up. I don't think it's like based off of anything. I think it's just a thing.
Okay.
But anyway, so homing heads is there's some 2 attacks.
And it's
The
a
first
future
one is
type. I don't know if you said that, by the way.
yes, this is future.
It's a base single
Basic
prize, 130 HP.
130
So,
HP. Yep.
yep.
And then homing heads for 3 colors. It does 50 to 3 opponents Pokemon that have any damage on them. And I'll also introduce the next attack right now for 5 colors. It does 150 to the active, but if it has a future boost energy capsule, that's the tool, which actually buffs damage by 20 and gives it free retreat. It'll cost 3 colorless, and then you can go in and you'll hit for 170. If you have a double turbo, it'll go back down to 150. But you wouldn't want to pair this with double turbo because then your spread attack is going to do 30 to each.
Right.
So what do you think about this card?
It's interesting. I mean, it's definitely something to try. Is it just like a meme deck, or is it something that's legit? I'm not sure. I see it as getting legit, but maybe it's intriguing, right? The HP is
Yeah, its
not that.
damage output. Yeah.
The HP is low, so you're probably getting one shot. Although Cramorant doesn't one shot you, so 120 is not terrible. That's
You have 130,
I mean 130. I'm sorry, you're right. So I was
which is
thinking
better
10
because
more than
some
I was
things say
thinking 10
130.
more than 120 is what I was in my head. So, but I said the wrong
Yeah.
thing, right? That 10 more than 120 is important. So,
Mhm.
right. So Sableye doesn't knock it out. Now there's other attackers that do that. 50 to 3 is good. Now Manaphy stops that, right? Because it's not
Yes.
placing. So you still have that issue. And obviously Manaphy's around. You have to get damage counters on in the first place, which you can do, but to getting damage counters onto 3 is not easy, right?
Yeah, you
So
can definitely get two. I'm assuming if you don't have damage cards on three, you can. If you have it on like two, it would work.
right.
Um,
But 50
I
on
think you.
2 isn't great. 50 on
No,
3
that's
starts
not
to make
great.
it viable, but you have to
I
get
think.
the damage counters
I,
on, which
yeah, I think 50 on two is acceptable in certain scenarios. I think I'm looking at this in Lost Zone. You
mhm,
probably also run Holucha, like which is a deck.
right.
You have Sableye, Lost. You have Sableye, Halucha, Free Dinku Ninja, and Mirage Gate, and
Hmm.
then you get to spread a bunch, and then you get to do stuff with this, and then you also have that nice second attack, which I think
Hmm.
um,
And you
you've
have
seen a few
Mirage
Pokemon.
Gate to get the energy on, so you're powering it up that
Yeah,
way too. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, and then you have like this is another Pokemon. There are a few of these that have like multiple good attacks, and I think Iron Jugulus. I think the 150 are essentially so you do need the tool on, but
Right.
you have 170 for three. And
Uh,
as a pivot is pretty good.
right, because then it's free retreat. Um, yeah, no, yeah. So fitting in one or two copies in a Lost Zone deck, I can see that. It's you can almost make it a deck unto itself, right? You could try to feature this in a deck. I think you're going to come up short, but you could. It's close enough to get in the numbers you want. You could try it, right? Is what I'd say.
Yeah, and keep in mind we do have that tool or that item card that lets you discard a card from your hand to transfer to future Pokemon.
Hmm.
So we'll look at a few more future Pokemon. I think there are some other ones that pair decently with Lost Zone.
Okay.
Um, in which case, obviously, searching them out is going to be good. Uh, and then you could have some justification. Obviously, it's a bit of a change up from normal, but I think it's a cool, interesting idea.
Right. That I mean, playing it with Lost Zone. Obviously, you have these like the Lost Zone tool only work. I mean, the future tool only works on one or two of your Pokemon, right? And then the Pokemon search that searches two again is limited what it does. So the payoff versus taking up deck space that you can't that's not useful a lot. It's going to be a tricky trade off, I think.
Yeah. And I think there's an option we could not play the tool and just do Iron Jugulus to do 50 to 3,
You could.
which is okay.
I mean,
Not great.
spread is. I mean, I like spread. Spread's a fun thing to do too. Um, it just you got to get the damage. If it was 50 to 3 without have even if it was 50 if it was 53 without any the requirement of damage counters, it's still questionable how good it is. It's obviously would be a lot better. That needing
Yeah, I think it
damage
would see play
counters,
in a wider variety of decks.
right? It's
I
not going to
think you
like
need.
run over decks left and right though. It wouldn't be overpowered without if they
It might
removed
be a
that.
little overpowered. It would be pretty good because it's if
Y-
you're against like if you're playing like a Gardevoir and across two turns
Yeah,
they KO
you're
every
wiping
like
out
your like
a lot
whole
of
engine,
engines in two
and then
turns.
imagine you put it with Lost City and then all your like Kirlias are gone for the
Yeah,
whole game. That'd be kind of.
yeah.
I think it could become very strong,
Okay. All right.
but
So
it's not like that.
yeah. So you want to talk about some other Pokemon?
Yeah, the ones at the bottom here, which are previously revealed, because now we have more context
Yep.
before they're in a vacuum. The first one I want to talk about is Roaring Moon EX, which
Is
I'll
that the
read as
first one?
attacks.
Okay, we're going.
Yeah. So it's an ancient Pokemon. Its first
Yep.
attack, Frenzied Gouging. Dark colorless, knock out your opponent's active instantly, which is good.
Hmm.
And then you do. If you knock him out, if you fail to knock him out, nothing happens. But if you do knock him out, you do 200 to yourself. You have 230 HP. Um, and then the second attack here, if 100 for Dark Color, same attack again,
Hmm.
same attack cost. You may discard a Stadium in play. If you do, it does 120 more, so 220 for Dark Colors. Not awful, not the best, but
Hmm.
it's certainly passable. And then you do have that tool to give you 60 more HP, which could be good. And when you reducing yourself to 30 HP is kind of scary. You don't really
All
want
right.
to
So
do that.
down to 90. So you're still super vulnerable.
Yeah, you're gonna get KO'd, but you're not gonna get KO'd by like if you're down to 30, like your opponent can now send up some single prize or some they can
Right.
like KO. I guess you're out of range of Squovit. I don't remember if you're out of range of a barrel sorry, out of Bidoof. But like
Yeah.
your opponent could like do something like stupid and then give themselves some like create like weird advantage when they're not attacking with their big Pokemon. Um, but then in terms of accelerating energy to it, you have Dark Patch, but then
Hmm.
you also have the Professor Sada's Determination, which I think you should play with it, which is the then we'll
Accelerates
need to two
2 energy
essentially.
and draw 3. Right. I mean, I think this is it seems to me it's the first attack and it's a closer for the game, right? That you're knocking out your opponent's active Pokemon, taking your prize or 2 prizes to win game, and you don't care about the damage. Earlier mid game, Calamity Storm's okay, but I think you have other options that are as good or as better than that don't need a stadium play and such. So, I don't love the second attack. And the first attack, you don't want to put that much damage on yourself early in the game.
Yeah, I think it's like there are times when it's good if your opponent has just one scary threat, right?
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what that would be, but there are like some like VMAX or Stage 2 EX, like a Charizard EX. Carrying those in early game are very hard to deal with, right? That's what makes
Hmm.
the deck so good. And I
Yeah.
think this is it allows you to cut that down easily.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're up against the Arceus deck, and they haven't got the V-Star attack yet, and they only have the one V in play. You take it out, or you're up against a Giratina V-Star deck. They don't have another Giratina V down. You take it out. You've bought yourself some time to get things going, I guess. Um,
Yeah, I think it's like a solid, like even 220 for 3 isn't bad. Um,
no, but we have other options that do that just
yeah,
as
but for
well, right?
dark, this is the best way. Yeah, like you're thinking like Miraidon, right?
I am comparing, right? This is dark type, which in dark is a good type to be. So right, compared to Miraidon, or compared to my boy Entei, hey, I might be
Yeah.
doing less, but I'm saying it's just a better payout cost damage for the most part. So
Yeah, if you just do like 220 every turn, and then if you have 290 HP, I think that's pretty scary.
yeah, it is. You got to get the three energies. Is it enough payout? Yeah. Look, no, it's there. I'm not sure early. Like I said, I'm more comfortable with it as a late game closer in a deck. Is it going to pull its weight early game? I'm not sure.
Yeah, and then Brute Bonnet, let's take a look at that. That's the one down below one. It's got 120 HP. Its attack just isn't very good, but has an ability that says if it has Ancient Booster Energy Capsule attached, you may make both
Hmm.
active poisons.
Okay.
And keep in mind that the Ancient Booster Energy Capsule removes special additions to your Pokemon.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that's like important to note.
Hmm.
It moves them to the ancient Pokemon, and then this is like you compare this with I'm thinking of Radiant Hisuian Sneasler, which is gonna make it
Hmm.
poison instead of 10, it's 30. And now you're not using like an attack, and you're getting 30 extra damage.
Right.
Not necessarily for free, but it's not like a crazy combo to pull off, I think, in an ancient deck.
Or I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just sitting on the bench. It doesn't have to be in the active to do this, right? So
Mhm.
you have something that, right? There is at least the one that takes the damage level down to your opponent's down to like 10 or something, right? So
Yeah, and
you
this is
can
a pretty solid way to do that as well.
so you can finish off with that. I don't know how easy that one is to set up, but yeah, with Sneasler that boosts the poison. And then you do have, as I was playing around Toxicity, you have the Mux that can cause difficulty too. The one that increases retreat cost by 1 if you want to either play stall, which you could do, or you could do, hey, we play one of those retreat based attacks like Leafeon VMAX with this, and in Muck, it plays
Yeah,
itself.
I have seen. I don't know if I've
It's a lot of
seen.
pieces, but
I've heard. I've certainly heard of that deck before, and seen videos of it played. Yeah, it's not
and
great, but the one thing that concerns me though is that this is somewhat similar to Pelly and Clodsire EX, which does that as a stage 1 EX if there's a stamen play poison's the active,
yeah,
and that's seen as essentially no play.
yeah, no,
Arguably, I think it's
it's
better than,
it's
but
a
I think
basic. You need the tool. So, like you said, with other ancient decks that want the tool, is can you play it in non-ancient decks to take the deck space of the basic and the tool, and are you going to hit them enough? I'm not certain. But yeah, like the attack's not good at all. So
I mean, if
120
you're
for,
playing a Roaring Moon, it's 120 for 3, can attack next turn.
yeah.
It KOs a Cramorant, uh, which could be good. Like, you don't want to have to, like, there are times when you don't want to send up your multi-prizer. You can just go in with a single prizer.
Hmm.
It's not good, but it can get the job done sometimes.
And this is the tool that gives extra HP, right?
Yeah.
So Yeah. So
which
it
isn't
doesn't
like
have
that useful.
right. I'd rather have the
It's
free
okay.
retreat tool because it's got a retreat cost of 3. If I get gusted up and I'm just wanted on the bench, I'm now dead for a turn too.
Yeah, that's also what I was thinking.
So I don't love that. So maybe I'm not sure how viable this one's going to be.
Yeah. Next up, we got Screamtail, which is a third ancient one. This one's psychic, basic with 90 HP, and it
Hmm.
does for psychic colorless does 20 damage to one of your opponent's bench for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So previously, if you accelerated 4 energy with Gardevoir, you'd be
Hmm.
sniping 160, which is not bad, but
No,
not amazing.
right.
But now with the
With the tool,
ancient booster energy capsule, you're up
yeah,
to um,
you're 60 more, so you're at
I think you're hitting how
150.
much?
So you can get 7.
So you're sniping
Oh, you can do
280.
140, which is tremendous on a single prize.
Yeah, that is how many energy? That's 7 energy, which
S-
isn't crazy. It's something
Right,
you
but
can
you're not
do. I
doing it
think
early, probably.
no, but this can snipe like an Arceus or like a Giratina
Y-
to finish the game. One
y-
thing I should say is
Yeah.
Giratina isn't good right now. When I say right now, time of release, it's not as good because of MUEX is a hard counter, a pretty brutal counter to Giratina.
Hmm.
But like Arceus and other things like that, a lot of V-Stars, um, this is very good against those.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I'm not sure you can do it any other way though than Gardevoir, right? Right now, there's
Yeah, I don't think you'd do
you
anything
can't
else.
get
But
damage counters on it otherwise, really. I mean,
I
unless
think
you
this might encourage playing Arvin in Gardevoir as well, so you can find both Force Seal Stone, and then also you need the Ancient Booster Energy Capsule.
I mean, the other thought I'm having, and I don't know if there's an answer, but if you played Thornton, is there a way you Thornton into it?
Um, I mean, if you get hit,
Right,
um, that
and you
like you
need the
need to be hit
tool
for a
attached.
certain amount. Yeah, you need
Correct.
to be hit for a certain amount. So
But that might be something viable. I'm not sure. That's just trying to think of ways to
yeah, kind of like the
possibly make it work.
Volcanion V and the Entei deck.
Right. That always seems sketchy. It's the same idea. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next up, we got a few more here. And I think let's talk about Iron Moth next. That one's kind of bad, so I'll read it. It's in
Wait, Iron
down
Moth
and
is what?
right.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Yep.
So it's a future Pokemon, a fire. Its ability thermal reactor. Once during a turn, when this Pokemon moves from your bench to the active, you may move any number of fire energy from your other Pokemon to it. This is like what you were thinking before.
In the future tool,
And
right? Just make sure I'm correct. I have free retreat,
yep,
right?
which is
So
pretty nice.
which works with this pairs with this ability. If I have other futures,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you do 120 for 3, which is not particularly good. It's for fire. Like it's as we're saying with
Yeah.
the Brute Bonnet, it can be okay at times, but it's not. The whole point of this Pokemon is to attack, and so it doesn't do a great job of that. In my opinion, it looks really cool
Right. It,
though. It's like red and blue.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
like the color scheme, but
Right. But
it's
yeah,
not very good.
120 for 3, and you have to swing into it. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like and then it's really stupid because like the types of decks you'd play this in are like basic Firebox decks, but
Hmm.
usually you probably just play Armor Rouge, which does its ability. It's like which so it essentially its ability doesn't matter if you're playing Armor Rouge because that's what Armor Rouge does. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
so
no, I get right, and also the other basic like a firebox. You're gonna play something else to attack, but this attack just isn't very good. Um,
yeah, it's
I mean, again, it's not good, but you swing into the active, you move a bunch of fire energy on it, and then you throw it into something else. I guess. I think that's not gonna work well. But you hit for Weird Ear, you hit for I don't know, right? You hit for some one of those Charizards that take like eight energies to attack with or something, right? I don't know.
yeah, that's not too good.
No.
And then we got two other ones though. Let's talk about Iron Bundle. I think Iron Bundle is pretty cool. Here, do you want to read it? It's down.
Yeah, I
Right.
got Iron Bundle here. So this is the basic, a single prize, 100 HP. It's a future type Pokemon. It water. I think I may have said that already. So Hyper Blower ability. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon's on your bench, you may switch out your opponent's active to the bench. Your opponent chooses the new active. So it's like the old Fion from the theme deck. If you do so, discard this Pokemon. I'll attach cards. Now with Fion, Again, it's not an on-play ability. It just has to be on your bench like Fion. Now the Fion went back in your deck, so that was a little better than this. This gets discarded, so you can't. You'd have to recover it again for the discard. But you can recover it to the hand too with Claire or something. So let's see. So that's useful. And the refrigerated stream for watercolors. Colors does 80. That's not exciting there. If the defending Pokemon's in evolution, it can't attack your opponent's next turn. So a bit of walling there, but of course they can switch to deal with that. So I'm not sure. I don't
It's,
know.
it's okay. It's from time to time. Like if you're playing, what I was thinking you'd play this. Well, I don't know. I was considering possibly in Lost Box,
Hmm.
and then it can be an attack if you need to like buy a turn. Like if you're staring up against like a Arceus. That's kind of scary because you're going to take a little
Yeah.
while to get through that.
Hmm.
So this will like buy you turns. Theoretically, it will allow you just to KO it, but obviously they're going to retreat or like switch. But they got to use some resources, and I think it's okay there.
I mean, it could go in a control type deck or a wall deck, right? You pair this and the Ice Cube that also is 3 energy, right? That then is immune to basics. So you have this for evolutions. You have Ice Cube,
Yeah, it's
so
not
basics
immune to
can't attach.
evolution. Keep in mind though. So once you take a KO,
Hmm.
um, it won't do anything.
Right. It just the defending evolution can't attack. So you're right. If you take the knockout, it's no good. Um, so yeah. Now this one, yeah. So I don't love the attack. The abilities I assume what you'd play it for, and it's a consideration for decks. I think right. Forcing your opponent to switch, it has value for something. So I don't know that's
Yeah,
going
I
to see a
also.
lot of play.
Yeah, I do also like the fact that you can stretch it out with Techno Raider. So if you are playing
Hmm.
a future-based deck, or even like a few future Pokemon,
Yeah.
there's some reasonable like benefit to running the Iron Bundle.
Yeah. So yeah. So a future deck, including a copy in your deck, probably is a consideration.
Mhm. And what I think Chen Pao, I think this could be solid in Chen Pao. Its attack isn't amazing. Its ability is not like amazing, but together I think they will be enough to
Hmm.
definitely have it worth consideration as like a one of in that deck.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So that yeah. All right. And what do we have? What, two more Pokemon?
One more here. So I'll read out Iron Valiant EX, which is psychic future Pokemon with this ability Tachyon bits or whatever. Um, Once in your turn, when this Pokemon moves from the bench to the active, so again that
Hmm.
switching aspect, you may put 2 damage cards on one of your opponent's Pokemon,
Okay.
and Laser Blade 200 for 3. Can attack next turn. Again, you can have that tool on, which will allow you to have a free retreat and do 20 more.
Hmm.
And I think I talked about this before. I think it's good in Lost Zone, as it's a decently big attacker.
Hmm.
It covers that Psychic type, which is a really nice type because that's the same type as Sableye, which is arguably the main attacker in Lost Zone.
Hmm.
And then it also is it sprinkles damage and it has like spread aspects to it.
Yeah, I like it. Now, so all right. So the future tool is the retreating one, which pairs
You
with
retreat
this.
20 damage.
And 20. So it gets the magic 220. And I was also thinking you could get the 220 with the damage, but now you can get the 240 on the active if you choose. Or you could better yet, put the 220 damage elsewhere to set up something else. So I like that. Um, Now, the one Pokemon that did hit 3 Pokemon, was it benched or whatever? If
Yeah,
that
and that was
was
future.
that future, so it compare in that deck. So now we can get the third damage counter on, right?
Yeah, and I'm kind of seeing that future is kind of like rapid strike, and then
Yeah.
ancient's kind of like single strike because you got like this big damage instant KO thing,
Hmm.
um, kind of sort of.
Yeah, certainly this one fits with battle styles. I think battle styles was switching was part of it, and these other things. So spread switching fits. So I think this is kind of like the rapid strike. I like this one. You have the free retreat, so you can move it up to the active each turn. You could even just have an Iron Valiant deck if you're not getting knocked out. You can still switch in, put 2 damage counters, do 220 damage. I like that. You have to get the psychic energy into play. We have that one supporter that was for psychic to recover things. You have to get the energies into play. That's a bit tricky. Um, and just you can also bang through mana fees slowly, right? Because you're placing the damage counters on it. If you get through that, it takes a few turns, but you can get there. Um, and I think it
Yeah,
may go in some other decks. Decks that do you play this in Chen Pao deck? Because you put more
yeah,
damage
I'd,
counters
maybe.
in. Chen Pao obviously,
It's not like exactly spread. It has Radiant Greninja, but I think you could put it in. I think it's a good in. Like, it's just a fun card.
hmm
I like it. It's like kind of like Chilling Reign Inteleon, Map Strike Inteleon, which does the 20 ping.
yeah.
It's a basic, but it needs to be in the active. But I think it's pretty solid. Um, I think you could play this in Gardevoir EX as well. You could play
hmm
it. You could accelerate. You could send it up, accelerate energy to it. It does take damage, but it's not like all the rest of your Pokemon are like super low anyways. And over the course of
Right.
say like if you do this like 4 times, you can't do it anymore. But
hmm
whatever, or I guess 5. But then after that, every time you just get 20 more damage. And Gardevoir obviously is a deck where you need to hit a certain damage threshold.
Well, I mean, like in Gardevoir, you get one of these on the bench with the tool, and if you get knocked out, you send it up and you just retreat it back. So you're getting,
Yeah, I don't even know if it's always worth using the tool either. But it could be, because
yeah,
if this is the only thing that gets value from the tool, it's not that good.
right. It's a question of that, right? Because right with Gardevoir, you retreat and the energy goes back in the discard, and that's okay. And then you reaccelerate it. So, um, I mean, it's an interesting card. How strong, I'm not sure. It's at least pretty strong though, in and
Yeah,
of
I think it's
itself.
it's a cool card.
I wish there was some way to accelerate Psychic besides Gardevoir. That's what I'm wishing.
Yeah, there's like Shadow Rider, and there's a Pokemon
Oh,
that's
that's
going to
true.
be replacing Shadow Rider. There's I mean, there's some ways you can do Lunatone Solrock Torrent,
hmm
which isn't like that crazy. I think
Uh,
there are a few ways. I think
there's the new
uh,
supporter, right? That accelerates 2 basic energies from the discard. Was that
what?
one? Wasn't there a supporter
No,
that
there's an
accelerated?
ancient one.
Oh, it was an ancient one. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's
this
not a
is a
future
future
one.
one. Okay, so that
Yeah,
doesn't help it. Yeah, I just I wish it like if imagine if it was lightning and you could toss the energy on with that, or even
yeah,
dark with
that'd be
dark
fun.
patch. You just make a deck like this and just just toss it at people
Yeah,
with some
but I
success.
think
Okay.
this is cool. Oh, and this has synergy with the Iron Jugulus, as you said this, but you can if you do Hawlucha plus an Iron Valiant, you will
hmm
have damage on counters on 3 of your opponent's Pokemon. That's not that big of a deal to do.
Right.
Um, you still need 3 energy on Iron Jugulus, but still.
Right. Yes, you need to do that to pull it off. But yeah, yeah. Can you actually make it all happen? Then of course you play the tool in the deck for the free retreat. So, yeah. Now, look, I think this is and these are just some of these Paradox Pokemon, right? We still don't have all of them that are coming out.
I don't think so. I think there are a few more. I don't remember what they are. I don't think there are that many more though. Um,
And if it's like the battle
yeah.
styles, and I don't know with the releases how it is, but the battle styles were enough to be good at first, but then it did get better over the next couple sets. They did release some important pieces down the
Mew
road.
VMAX and Genesect
Well,
V,
besides the fusion strike,
Meloetta,
they added
Elusive
some
Sprinkle, Fusion
some
Strike
rapid
Energy.
strike and single strike that made those decks better too, right?
Yeah, we got like Inteleon,
hmm
VMAX, we got Umbreon. Umbreon isn't played in single strike necessarily, but it was a very good card. There are a
Yeah.
few.
Yeah, so we have most of the pieces here. I don't know if this is about all we have. I'm not sure how viable they'll be, but hopefully we get some more pieces. And I liked it with the battle styles that not counting Fusion Strike. I didn't like that, I gotta say. But the others, you started with a set of cards and then you added to it. I thought that was good. The Fusion Strike, just they dropped it once. I didn't think that doesn't make the game as interesting in my mind. So hopefully we
Yeah, I think
get
Fusion
that.
Strike was. I'm probably gonna make a video why Fusion Strike. I'm actually ready to be out. Why Fusion Strike was so bad. Um, yeah,
All right,
but
so
I think that's about it, right?
yeah, no, it's look, they're an interesting set of cards. I am looking forward to the Paradox Rift coming out now that we did this more than I had been ignoring it. So starting to look forward to when that comes out down the road.
Yeah. And you also said to me, I'm dying here, that we
Okay,
couldn't talk about this for an hour,
and yet
which we
we
did.
did, yes. So hopefully we didn't drag on too much on it on things, but yeah. So I think a solid set of cards, and you
And a very
can.
interesting set of cards as well, I'd say.
Yeah. Yes, I think they're bringing some different aspects with it. Some are just within their type, and some are more universal. So that's all good to see. If you like this, if you like a video that's more of a set review, this was just a card review, which we don't typically do. Let us know in the comments on our YouTube pages, right? Uncommon Fossil with 1M and 10 types. If you if you're watching on YouTube, you're already there. If you're listening to on a podcast player, then you can find us on YouTube as well. And if you like this content, please subscribe and comment. And hopefully you have a good week playing some Pokemon.
Yep. Oh, and hopefully you enjoyed all those 151 glitches. Yay.
Or not. Hopefully
Or
things
not,
went
or
better.
not.
Yeah.
GLC. Bye.
Bye.